Next up, we've got, well, clearly PR is changing, as we've just, sort of a lot of the stuff that we've discussed throughout the conference, really. But next up, we've got Renee Wilson from MSL Group. And Renee's going to be talking about us redesigning PR to compete in a new fashioned marketplace. Renee, over to you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm sort of picking up the caboose here. I guess thanks for sticking with me this late in the afternoon. My name is Renee Wilson, and I'm the Global Chief Client Officer at MSL Group. And in case you're wondering what that means, I look after our top multinational clients around the world, listening to what it is that they need, and ensuring that I work with my teams to make sure that we deliver for them. I first off want to thank David Gallagher and ICCO for inviting me to speak. I'm grateful for the opportunity. It's my first ICCO conference, and so far so good. It's been a really, really great crowd to get to know, and the energy level is terrific. And it's also exciting to be here in Milan, the design capital of the world. And I thought that that was quite interesting because we've heard a lot of new ideas over the last couple, yesterday and today, in terms of how our business is transforming and how folks are redesigning it. And that's something that I think is quite relevant, how we're redesigning PR for the modern day clients. So I'd like to offer my take on this as well and talk to you a little bit about overall design as a way of thinking, some fluid and flexible approaches, how we could potentially move forward, and then I'll wrap it up. So the design world has gotten a lot of attention lately. I don't know if you all ever read the Harvard Business Review, but a couple of months ago, the cover was talking about how to put a clear focus on the evolution of design thinking. According to HBR, design thinking is now powering corporate strategy around the world. And there were some great articles in there of companies like Pepsi with Indra Nooyi taking the idea of what they would do for design and packaging or on the shelf and using it for strategy internally throughout her organization, both for employees and also user experiences with the brand. And another great case in there as well is of Samsung, how they're doing the same thing, using that design thinking internally at the company, where normally you just think of Samsung as beautifully designed products. So as PR professionals, well, why is this even relevant to us? As an industry, for the last several years, we've really spoken about real-time communications, real-time information, acting real-time, and the daily life of a PR professional living in a real-time world can sometimes be a challenge. It's about speed, and it's managing to always be on. But we spend much of our time trying to manage the ever-changing present. It's about the now. However, design thinking is not just about the now. It's about creating something new. It's about creating the future. It's about moving ahead. And now is as good a time as any, as we're reflecting on what PR is, to think about how we're going to design for the future. It's very important, as we all know, to stay a couple steps ahead of your clients at all times. That, of course, is what we're all individually and collectively as leaders trying to grapple with these days. We really do need to think about redesigning PR. So in terms of what do we mean by design today, design thinking means how we design strategy. And there are a number of aspects to this, far too many to name, but those that really stand out to me is, well, the first one, the integration of technology into everything we do. And I'm not just talking about social media, I'm talking about technology in terms of digital and how it affects consumers and end users of any sort of service or product. You know, we talk a lot about how important CAN is, and I'll be the first one to raise my hand to say, yes, there's tons of CMOs and tons of very important people at CAN, but when it comes to technology, there's just as much exciting folks and seminars and things going on at South by Southwest or CES, or even if in your country or your local market you have makers fairs. I was just saying to David before, I went to the Makers Fair recently in New York City, which was over a couple of days, and there were all of the CMOs and clients from Intel, Google, Microsoft, all exhibiting in just the same way, talking about some of the same issues that we're grappling with. So technology and integrating it into everything we do should play a huge part in how we're designing our agencies and our profession moving forward. And then, of course, there's the importance of thoughtful restraint because we can't be all things to all people, and we've got to focus. We have to focus our resources. So that is quite important in terms of design strategy. Working with precision, knowledge, and impact that's both a part and a result of digital is critical to this. I think it was Brad Staples yesterday that was saying about how we needed to have much more precision in what we were recommending to our clients, and that's never been more true. With all of the tools and the data and analytics that are available to us as PR professionals, there is a real ability to be more accountable, much more accountable than we've been in the past by just saying that impressions could help change an attitude or a behavior. So I think that there's an opportunity to be a bit more precise. And then on the flip side of that, which sounds a little bit counterintuitive, but there's a role for this as well, is embracing ambiguity in terms of how we operate within our agencies and how we operate for the profession, because the boundaries of public relations have clearly changed. What's not clear is exactly where the lines are drawn, as we know, and there's new rules of working, of course, but an awful lot of what we're asking our employees and our clients and of ourselves is really still evolving. So we've got to be able to embrace that ambiguity. So what is driving the tension when it comes to redesign that we've got to grapple with today? Well, I believe that there's a healthy tension that we experience around the integration of technology. We call it the technology factor. On one hand, technology has driven this cataclysmic change throughout the world of communications, and the collateral effect of it is a new level of complexity that, frankly, not too many of us want to admit, but sometimes it can be a bit tricky to deal with. It's fabulous, but it can be a bit overwhelming at times. And while technology has helped advance business, the experience of that technology is often not exactly what it needs to be. People and clients want interactions with technology and other complex systems to be simple, intuitive, and pleasurable. And that was the point that was really driven home in that Harvard Business Review article, is that we're all talking about technology, and we all want to make our companies, our workforces much more technologically savvy. But it's not as easy as it is to say so. Our clients want technology to be integrated into our campaigns seamlessly, and then we're held up to this new level of accountability and measurement for the campaign when technology and digital is a part of it. So the opportunity is not to just ensure that this integration happens, but to specifically design it so that it happens in simple and easy and elegant ways. So what I'm suggesting is that we redesign our infrastructures and how we service accounts to meet the new needs of our clients. It's complicated, but we need to design it so that it is simple for workforces, our employees, and our clients to interact. So in my opinion, the integration of technology into our campaigns and into our businesses and the changes to how we operate has to feel quite natural to our clients, even though we know it's anything but easy to do. So the challenge to us is to manage this tenor of change so that for the clients, it is a simple process. So technology is not an end to itself, but it's really the opportunity to design new and better experiences for clients, customers, and consumers. And these experiences need to be purposeful and align with our long-term development goals. So this means that when we redesign our businesses, our capabilities, our programs, we need to be thinking how it feels to the actual end user. Similar to how Indra Nooyi did it for Pepsi and her end users, we need to think about that as well. So when you do that, you have design that is truly strategic. So as agency leaders, what's our role in this process? Well, I'm sure this group would certainly agree that it's to lead it. It's to lead the redesign of public relations, and it needs to come from the PR agency side of the business, not from the ad folks, not from any of the other agencies. We're the ones that know how to help our clients integrate in with the new way of thinking of PR. So where do we start? Well, we start by looking at the PR ecosystem. There's no better place to start, really, than by redesigning the overall agency experience. So what I mean by that is our product offers, our talent resources, the culture and the behaviors that we reward, the infrastructure that runs our businesses, our approach to innovation, and most importantly, our client service. They're all part of this ecosystem, and we need to interject design thinking that strategic design thinking into everything we do so that it works together seamlessly in a way that is built for the new modern age of communications. And when we take on this redesign, we need to do it through the lens of our clients. The experience that we create must not only be right, it's got to feel right to us and, more importantly, to the folks that we're serving. So I put some thoughts around what a better agency experience could mean. I'm sure you all have yours as well. But I think if we think about, starting with our product offers, that they will be based on new technologies. And that means this could change, every 6 months there's new technology that's becoming available. We need to be able to be nimble, quick, and adapt to that so that the CMOs, the CCOs, that they do continue to look to the PR agencies for leadership. And then the opportunity to attract different types of talent that is best in class. And I think we were talking about this yesterday and today. Not all talent wants to come to a PR agency right now. Eventually, I'm sure that they all will, but it's the way that we're designing our infrastructures and what we're calling our titles and how we're bringing groups together. Are practices antiquated? Do we even need the names of practices anymore? I don't know. These are all questions we need to think about. And then obviously culture. Culture is so important, but it's got to be authentic. It's got to be transparent. We just saw those two fabulous millennials talking about how they came up with their ideas, and it's about transparency. I mean, they didn't hold back, and I wouldn't imagine that they expect anything less from their companies. Okay, so then the infrastructure needs to be fluid, flexible, and customized to the needs of the clients. And then finally, it's about a laboratory mentality around innovation because it's got to keep pace with the innovation and technology. Richard mentioned Hyper Island before. Maybe some of you have worked with them. I know at MSL Group, we've worked with Hyper Island as well, and they really do help you. This isn't a commercial for Hyper Island, but they really do help you understand just the pace that you need to keep at these days. And then finally, client service. It's got to be personalized and results-oriented. Now, that's not to say that we weren't results-oriented before, but again, with what is available now in the marketplace, with programmatic tools and the ability to be much more accountable, we need to be results-oriented as an industry. And I think this group knows that, but I do believe it's worth mentioning. So now I want to talk about 3 examples of where we can flex our organizational muscles to apply this redesign to business. And the first one I wanted to speak about was the programmatic trend. As you've undoubtedly seen in the trades, this trend comes from the media buying discipline as part of the marketing mix. And I realize in different markets around the world, it might be at different levels of maturity. But in the States where I am from, it's quite high on the consideration set. So basically, the clients are going to expect us eventually to think about our own work with them in programmatic ways. You may have heard your clients talk about this in the past, but it's really the media buying folks that have taught our clients to expect media and program decisions made with speed, that are automated based on algorithms that constantly optimize the investment that the client may be making. It's a world where data rules and results can be measured every which way possible. And again, I'm sure many of you are already doing this. But that means that we need to power our own thinking with technology and data intelligence so that we're constantly maximizing client resources. And I like to say it's data-driven public relations. It's about starting with who's your audience, what are the right level and right levers of influence, the content that you create that's been tested and proven, that's delivered at the right moments, that's delivering the right impact. We can earn coverage, and then, earned media is still I think, the bread and butter of what we can do. I mean, that's what is so credible, and it's got that third-party endorsement. But then we can identify which pieces of coverage are the strongest that can generate a business result for the client, and then amplify them to generate a measurable business result through programmatic tools. So a good example of this is the work that one of our offices has done for a small beauty e-commerce company called Hairfinity. And don't throw tomatoes at me because I have the Kardashians up here. It's just that this is the example. I'm not the target, but this is an example, and I know that their show is international, so I'm hoping that some of you out there know who they are. But Hairfinity is an e-commerce beauty company. And the Kardashians happened to attend the Hairfinity launch party that our team threw in London. And then a video segment from this party was integrated into their show. And the client asked the team, well, how can we maximize this? Should we write a press release? And the team was like, well, actually, there's a lot more that we can do. It was a very, very small budget for this, very, very small amount of resource. But the answer really involved creating content, 20 to 30 pieces of content overall they had for before, during, and after, leveraging the hair beauty influencers. And the thing that we identified was that the best performing content that we had could be syndicated through some of the programmatic syndication tools. And the result was a 42% spike in web traffic, which for an e-commerce company you probably know is gold. And when I tell you this was a very small spend, it just opened the client's eyes and many of our team up to see what was possible when you use programmatic. So the campaign, which was only 4 weeks, also created a very measurable sales lift. And it's just something that, like I said, it's just emblematic of what's happening and happening on a bigger scale for some of our bigger clients. All right, so I also wanted to tackle creative. I know a lot of folks, Arun, Fiorenza, Richard, and Simon before are all talking about the creative quest, but it's something that I think those of us in PR have been on this quest for quite some time as to how to crack it. The media are constantly measuring how many PR lions are won by PR agencies each year. And as we know, the advertising agencies have fared a little bit better. And even when we win, the media sometimes suggests that the wins are not legitimate because the creative might have been created by a team that was at an ad agency or partnered with the PR firm. But frankly, I think that maybe the media are asking the wrong question. In the case of Like a Girl, and don't worry, I'm not going to show you the video. Michael did that for us. Leo Burnett and MSL Group, they delivered several awards for the campaign in the PR category this past year, but it was really because Leo Burnett and MSL did what we each do best, and it was really by collaborating that we achieved these incredible results. The campaign would not have been successful, would not have won, if there was not an amazing insight that was identified by the PR and the ad team. I can tell you, if anybody wants to speak afterwards, I can explain to you exactly how this campaign came to life. It didn't happen overnight. It actually started 5 years ago with some really good research, and I'm happy to explain it. But it was an amazing insight. It was a breakthrough video. It was a very smart, strategically executed campaign that made an enormous hit on YouTube. And by working together, we delivered value for the client that we would not have necessarily delivered if we hadn't collaborated with them. So it brings me to this creative question, and I think we need to think differently about it. The question should be, what solutions will each of us be designing to ensure that our campaigns involve great, earth-shattering creative that can deliver great, earth-shattering results? There are as many answers to this question as there are agencies, and being fluid and flexible, as I said before, means that many of us have designed multiple solutions. But the point is that each of us needs to have an answer because great creative is an essential part of the modern conversation. Creative is an area of key redesign, and the solution must feel simple, organized, and powerful. We're redesigning our capability at MSL Group. I'm sure many of you are as well. And we recently had a new alignment with Publicis Worldwide, giving us some flexibility when it comes to new creative resources. And a great example of our collaboration with our sister agency is on this Sisterhood of Motherhood campaign that we did for Abbott. The campaign, Like a Girl, is driven by a very powerful insight. In this case, it's about millennial moms feeling judged for their parenting decisions, no matter what decision it is that they make. And I realize this was a video produced in America. I think it will have some resonance for other markets too, but it's about millennial moms. And again, this is a collaborative effort between the two firms. So if I could go to the video, please.
police have arrived.
100% breastfed, straight from the source.
Drug-free pull birth, dolphin-assisted.
Oh. Well, you push. We cuddle.
Yeah, cuddling is bonding.
Helicopter mom, 12 o'clock.
Must be mommy's day off.
Oh, that's sexist. What, you wanna go or something? No.
Oh, disposable diaper. Well, apparently we don't care about the environment.
Oh, look, it's Crunchy Granola Mom.
It's getting real.
I wonder what it's like being a part-time mom. Ooh. Stay-at-home moms. I wonder what they do all day. Mani-pedis.
Looks like some moms are too lazy to breastfeed.
Someone came with their nipples blazing.
Oh, yeah? Well, I puffed during conference calls.
Hello.
Yeah.
It's not all about the breasts.
Actually, yeah, it is.
No, it's not. No.
It's about.
But it's not.
You want a piece of this? Oh, you want a piece of this? Well, I'll show you some screen-free parenting.
Bring it. Nibble up, ladies.
It's go time, I think. Yeah, go.
I'll be back.
Let's do this! Oh, you guys. Gosh.
So the fact that the video captured an enormous insight that was really felt by the target drove a lot of love for this campaign. And that's just a social media word cloud that had captured some of the phrases about the campaign. But the results of the multi-channel effort surpassed all of the expectations that our brand team had. You know, over 8 million views on YouTube when it first launched, strong sentiment scores, 100,000 engagements on Facebook, and more. Strong creative was the driver, as we all know, and when creative is powerful, we can really, really do our job as PR professionals. But again, it was a collaborative effort. I'm sure it'll be scrutinized as to what part the PR agency played, but it was a integrated campaign overall. So what does this example tell us? That the old boundaries around creative no longer hold. Great creative is just a requirement today, and that's why we have to design it properly. It doesn't really matter how we get to that creative, but the onus is on us to deliver it and to leverage it for great results for our clients. Okay, so the final aspect of designing a new thinking around PR is what I'm calling generational leadership, and how it affects our infrastructure. Because when we talk about customizing client service and having a flexible infrastructure, there's no better example than the growing need for generational leadership. And I don't know if this movie is out in every market around the world yet, but with Robert De Niro playing the intern at a startup, it's quite funny. Again, I'm not here to promote the movie, but I do think it's funny. Okay, so today in the workforce, there are actually, for the first time, 4 generations at the same time. So you've got the traditionalists that are perhaps retiring out, but some still want to supplement their retirement with work. Then there's the baby boomers, of course. There's Gen X, and like many of us, I think. And then, of course, we've got our successors in the world, the millennials. And whether we're considering our agency staff or our client staff, we've got to be sensitive that each of these generations have a different way of learning, of working, and of collaborating. And their comfort with technology, which is such a driving force today, is a differentiator. And the other thing that we need to consider is the sharing of knowledge, skills, and wisdom between the generations. Millennials may not think that they need to learn what the other generations know. Maybe some of the older folks that are still in the workforce feel that there's nothing that they can learn from the millennials, but we know that that's not true, because there's a lot that all 4 of the groups can learn from each other. So, sometimes if you have clients that are straight out of school, the chemistry balance suggests that you may not want to have your younger client with someone from one of the older generations, but I don't necessarily think that that's true. I think that every situation is different, and you've got to marry up the generations as to how it's going to best deliver the results. There's really not one size fits all, but the point I'm trying to make is think about it. There may be a preference for pure relationships and communication preferences through technology, and that's fine. But sometimes we need to work overtime to ensure that these new kinds of relationships really do work out within the agencies. This gets back to the simplicity side of the design equation. The relationships need to feel simple, and they need to feel right to the clients. So at MSL Group, we've done quite a bit of global research on millennials as well. That we actually conducted it last year. And it did show that 40% of millennials expect to be in a management position within 2 years of graduation. So you put a millennial in a key role, you make them in management, and then what happens? They leave. No, I'm just kidding. But it is important to note that they do have high aspirations and a lot of excitement about moving up the ladder. And the research did show that 30% of millennials do intend to leave their organizations within the next year. We did this research, it was across, I believe it was 15 countries. And the other thing just to say is that, obviously there is not one size fits all. It was interesting when we looked at global experience, there was many of the millennials that we interviewed had aspirations of moving to new markets, especially from the emerging markets. But from the US and the UK, they were not as interested in living or working abroad, which I thought was really, really interesting. And then finally, when you talk about, how do you bring folks along? What are some examples of actual training programs? We've designed some innovative programs at MSL Group that I think are quite good. The first one is Generation Activation. And this has been running now for about 5 years, and it's targeted towards millennials. It came at a time when perhaps there were not as many rewards that we had at the agency to offer up folks. And so we started this junior leadership program where we asked millennials to actually apply to be a member of the junior leadership team. We had 8 folks that ended up being on the leadership council. They had to hand in their application with 2 references and went through an interview process. So as we've learned, millennials like to feel that they've won something. And then what they've done for the last 5 years is conducted a reverse RFP in the New York and the Atlanta market, where we would give a not-for-profit in New York City $200,000 worth of free social media work, and it's been great for the millennial leadership team to be able to host that pitch, pick the client that is awarded it, and then manage the social work for them. It's been a huge success, and it continues to be. And then our GROW program is a global mentoring program that's designed to bring our global network closer together and establish the cross-regional relationships. It connects both leaders mentoring millennials, but then also we have a reverse mentorship aspect of it where millennials are mentoring some of the boomers and Gen Xers. And then finally, just to sum up, the programmatic trend, the creative quest, and generational leadership are just 3 examples in how we're designing our way forward by balancing technology with all the complexity solutions that are out there today. And here are my list of the final steps that I think we need to take into consideration as we design our way forward. As we've heard as well today, don't fear complexity, embrace it. Turn those within your organizations who can make it simple into the organizational heroes. Be open to innovative partnerships, new sorts of partnerships, as these are going to be really critical to our future, but they've got to be fashioned on fluid and flexible arrangements. We've got to stay agile. And then thirdly, when we design our future, we need to be designing a generation ahead around those who will follow us. It's so interesting, but it's true. We've got to create and build opportunities for the folks that are entering into our industry. We've got to build a new comfort zone around ambiguity. There's so much that we don't know right now. And the days when you can control every aspect of the job, they're gone. The world's gotten a lot bigger and a lot more complex. And finally, and most importantly, one thing hasn't changed. Our business is about our clients, and everything we do is done to help our clients. We need to lead our clients down the path of redesigning this discipline. And at the end of the day, it's got to be for them, about them, and anchor them firmly into the future. I think a decade from now, we're going to reflect back on this time, and it'll be clear that what we're doing today is not only evolving the discipline of public relations, but designing new ways of communicating and new ways to manage the business. You know, if Uber can come along and turn the taxi business into a technology business, then we can certainly redesign our discipline. Thank you.
Okay, that was great. We hear a lot of talk about how public relations is changing, but it's great to see that process actually in action. Any questions for Renee? I have a real quick one. It's just about the pace of change. Are you wearing a mic, or are we? No, we'll have to share. Do you feel the pace of change of PR is increasing, or so in that sense, are we playing catch up with that pace of change, or are we in a state of constant evolution?
I think we are in a state of constant evolution. I don't think technology is going to slow down anytime fast. I don't think anyone would disagree with that. And that's why it's so important that we do design our organizations, whatever that means. If it's get away with, do away with all the titles, do away with your practices, whatever. We've got to be nimble and agile, because I just think it's going to continue at this pace.
Renee, thank you very much.
Thanks.